Hello, it's Charlene Sinjenko. Welcome to another edition of Body Moves and Breakthroughs. I think we are getting closer to day 30. This is my 100-day commitment to continuous content that I'm calling curated content because it's holding one intention. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first started this series, thanks to my friend and someone who has known me for a very long time and my business strategist, I wasn't sure exactly where it was going. And that is really and honestly how I live my life. So the theme, Body Moves and Breakthroughs, came to me, and so I went with it because, again, that's pretty much how I live my life. And only now, a third of the way in, is the guidance and the wisdom really coming through about what this little series is all about. So I'm super grateful for that, and I'm also going to dig in a little more fully as we enter into the next phase of what this series is. So I'll share with you how it's coming through right now. Many of you know I spent a decade of my career as a personal trainer. And it's interesting because I was competing as an athlete at the time. I didn't set out to become a trainer, but again, that's kind of the direction I was led, and so I went with it. And really what I understand now, all these years later, is I was very intentionally put into that space to really understand embodiment and to really understand what it means to steward belief and really to understand what transformation looks and feels like at a visceral level. And I worked with hundreds of clients, and I often wondered, oh, it's interesting that I'm here having just left, the investment services industry and then ending up on a weight room floor. But I went with it. Fast forward all these years later, after working, really digging into what transformation by design, what human development, performance, potential, spiritual awakening, healing, like what all of this really means in terms of this life experience that we're here to really express, embody, really to have and to hold. And here we are. So I'll share a little bit of guidance that's come through in the last week that very much relates to this conversation of body moves and breakthroughs. I had a session last week, and the guidance received was a lot of spiritual teachers. Their physical beings weren't as strong and solid in their makeup as they could have been, as they could be and could have been. And in that, even though spiritually they were so connected and so powerful, and for so many of them, so grateful. And I'm making a bit of a generalized statement. I'm not like, I don't know the fitness level of every single one of the great teachers out there, but I'm thinking of a few that I certainly follow and have followed. And they were spiritually very, very connected, but physically they were a little out of balance. Some of them, I would even say, on the frail side of things. And it's interesting because I came at this from the other side of the spectrum. I definitely grew up in an environment that was connected to faith and believing in a higher power, and very curious about that. And then at the same time was someone that was very, very connected in with her body, whether that was through sports or play or horses or, performing and music. So the guidance that came through last week was really guidance around purifying our vessels. And the purification of our vessel is so important and needed at this time, so that the spiritual teachings, the healing, the transformation that needs to happen in this time in history can happen even more fully and powerfully than if perhaps our physicality wasn't as strong as it could be. That's really the journey that I'm on right now, and I believe it's a journey and a teaching and a lesson that's meant to be shared more broadly than that. So Body Moves and Breakthroughs is really going to start leaning into that relationship between our physical body and being and vessel and our spiritual awareness, guidance, ancestral wisdom, intuition, connection points, touch points, and really connecting more deeply with our faith and our belief and those that are around us, beside us, and with us to connect us back to our whole selves and the very best part of ourselves. So thank you for listening. I'll be sharing more about this journey, as well as some readings, some movement, some insights, and we're just a third of the way there. So I'm super excited to see where this is meant to go next. Thanks for being here.